Have you ever felt completely misunderstood, as if your voice was just bouncing off the walls and coming back to you? Or, on the contrary, have you ever realized that while listening to someone, your mind was actually somewhere else entirely? These are the moments when that delicate bond we call communication breaks. The words we use, the tone we choose, sometimes unknowingly build walls that create distance between us. But when used correctly, those same words can build strong bridges from heart to heart. Today, we'll talk about the art of building those bridges. Our topic is positive communication. So, what is positive communication? Is it a set of techniques, or is it simply about being polite? In fact, it's more than both. It's an intention, a perspective. It's about embarking on a journey to understand the other person, rather than engaging in a power struggle. The goal is not to prove yourself right, but to reach a solution and understanding together. So how can we build this bridge even stronger? Let's take a look together at the fundamental elements of this art, the supporting pillars of the bridge. The first and most essential is empathy. We hear this word so often that sometimes its meaning gets lost. Empathy, in its simplest form, is taking off our own shoes for a moment and putting ourselves in the other person's shoes. It is trying to see the world from their perspective. For example, instead of immediately labeling a coworker who is late with a delivery as irresponsible, you pause for a moment and consider whether they might be having a tough day or maybe there's a problem at home. This tiny pause for thought can turn a destructive reaction into a constructive conversation. Our second pillar is active listening. Notice, I'm not just saying listening, active listening. Most of us, while the other person is talking, are actually silently rehearsing what we're going to say next. Active listening means completely letting go of that. It means putting your phone aside, making eye contact, and focusing your entire presence on that moment. To show that we understand what's being said, for example saying, "So I understand that this is what upsets you the most, is that right?" is to confirm with questions like this. This is the most powerful way to say to the other person, "You are valuable and what you're telling me matters to me." Now let's move on to the third and most critical element, using I statements. Most conflicts in communication start when a blaming finger is pointed at the other person. We call this you language. For example, "You always criticize me," or "You never keep your word." These sentences send a signal to the other person to defend themselves, and a wall goes up instantly. However, using I statements means turning that finger toward ourselves. It means expressing our own feelings and needs. For example, saying, "When I feel constantly criticized, I feel worthless and my motivation drops." Or, "When promises you make aren't kept, I feel disappointed." See, this isn't an attack, it's an invitation. You share your feelings and invite the other person to understand you. And the fourth pillar is constructive feedback. Is our goal to eat the grapes or to beat the vineyard keeper? If our aim is to solve a problem, we should present criticism not as a weapon of attack, but as an opportunity for growth. We should focus on behavior, not personality. For example, instead of saying, "This report isn't good," you could say, "I believe the report would be much more convincing if we added a few more examples to this section." Of course, putting all these elements into practice is not always easy, because there are landmines in our path, communication barriers. Our prejudices are like curtains that fall over our eyes. We don't hear what the other person is saying, but rather who they are. Distractions are the busiest streets in our minds. Even in the middle of the most important conversation, they drag us elsewhere. And of course, intense emotional reactions. They are like reckless drivers who take the wheel of our minds. Anger, disappointment, fear. When these kick in, logic takes a backseat. So how do we overcome these obstacles? Actually, the answer is in the same place again. In those solid pillars we have built. We part the curtain of prejudice with the light of empathy. We calm that crowded street in our minds with the focus brought by active listening, and we regain control over the runaway emotional drivers by taking a deep breath and speaking in the first person. Positive communication is like a garden that needs to be tended with care. It requires effort, patience, and awareness. But when you take good care of that garden, the fruits it gives you are priceless. Trust, peace, understanding, and most importantly, deep and meaningful human relationships. Remember, every conversation is a choice to build a wall or to build a bridge. Take the first step today. Choose to understand instead of judge, to listen instead of just hear, to feel instead of blame. Choose to build that bridge.